Greetings from Cove Fort near Beaver, Utah. Today is Friday, February 9th, 2023. It is 2 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time and 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So I just got finished with a tour by Elder Jensen, who did a very good job explaining to me the history and background of Cove Fort. This was something that was built, I believe it was 1867, by the Hinkley family, specifically Ira Hinkley. Yes, in 1867, he and his family received a call from President Brigham Young to move their home in Colville, Utah, to build a fort in south central Utah, 200 miles away. Ira, his brother, and local workmen built the fort to serve as a way station for travelers, protect the telegraph office, and provide a home for the Hinkley family. Many of the rooms in the fort were used as family and guest quarters. So the person who was guiding me told me that these doors are original to the fort. Now, over time, because the fort was basically in existence for about 27 years or so. So there was stretches where this was abandoned, and also this exterior was made from kind of like a mix of, I may be using the wrong term, but I'll just say like lava type of rock. And you can't see it right now, but beyond this wall there's a flat mountain, and he said that's where they would grab the rocks from. And they said that some of these things have been restored over the years, but like this hinge is the only original hinge left. And you can see also like the name Kessler here. That was one of the groups that later took over this place. Now there's 6 rooms on each side. So there's 6 rooms on this side and 6 rooms on that side. The 6 rooms on this side are kind of business, kitchen, and trading post ones. The 6 rooms on that side are for people who were staying here. These 3 rooms right here were for like the family that was specifically staying here, and the other 3 rooms were for guests. So you can see you've got the stagecoach office and post office. Now these are sort of replicas. Like you're not going to see, everything's not going to be identical to how it was back then, but it's trying to make it look like how it did. Now there's fireplaces in each room, so those are original. But this was a United States post office. And then they said the walls were initially asphalt, but to help maintain it better, they changed it to a more modern look. This is the telegraph office. And Elder Jensen was telling me about how those liquid-like things on the bottom kind of serve to provide electricity for the telegram, and that was a huge communication improvement. And also how some of the women actually got roles and jobs of being telegraph transmitters. Now this one is locked, but you'll see why in a second. If you go to the next one here, this is where the kitchen and dining room is located. This one is 2 rooms, but opened up so that it's one big room. Again, you can see the fireplaces, the type of stove that would have been used back then. So stagecoach workers, because back then I think he said they could travel like maybe 20 miles in a day. So when they got here to deliver certain things, they may stop here to grab a meal, and the wives of the Hinkley family would be preparing the meals for all the visitors who would come by. And then this next room here is the washing and weaving room. So here is where you can make rugs, and then all the other ways you would wash clothes. The irons, you would take the irons and put them over the fireplace to get them hot. That's one of those things that you would wear on your shoulder to attach two buckets to in order to bring the water, because there was no water source, so to speak, that would like pump into the area. You had to all go out and get the water from distant places. And then the final room on this side served as the living quarters and kitchen annex. So you could have some people stay here. Most often family members use this room for private quarters. But what's also interesting, this room, is also supposed to display some examples of the trading post furs that would be brought here, or the Navajo blankets. But what's kind of cool is down here you've got the kitchen annex, so that probably goes like 8 to 10 feet down. I don't know if probably can't quite shine a light down there. Let me see if my cell phone. Yeah, you really can't see too much down there. But that's where they would store vegetables, or kind of act like a big refrigerator too, since things are colder underground. That's fascinating to see that it's still in existence like that. So you could see how those big doors were closed, and initially this was used or conceived because they were worried about certain groups coming and maybe attacking. And that's why you have certain things like this where you could peek through and defend the fort if necessary. And this door in the back is also original. So this is an example of one of the guest rooms, living quarters and guest room number 2. So guests who came here could stay here. And as Elder Jensen was pointing out to me, you can imagine if you're traveling in the winter 20 miles on a stagecoach, even though you have some mechanisms to keep you warm, it's probably a lot nicer to have an actual bed to sleep on and a heated fireplace. This room here was called the best room, which was supposed to be, I guess, the best room in case a guest like Brigham Young came or some other VIP. Oh, forgive me, my camera was a little off there. You got like the pots there for how they would use the restroom. A version of, I think, Book of Mormon He was telling me how they initially tried to use like a different type of alphabet, Deseret alphabet, but it didn't really quite catch on. This next guest room was Angelina's room because Ira Hinkley actually had two wives, Angelina and I forget the other one's name, but we'll see in a second. So they had this room, and then the room to our right was the children's room, and then the final room was the other wife. Now, these are doors here, so you could have like the whole thing be open. So even though the family was, we're going inside and outside, it kind of was like all one big space. I think he said that clock back there is original to the Hinkleys, and that photo album is a legitimate photo album of the Hinkleys. Interesting about this cradle too, if you flip it upside down, it can be a bench serving a dual purpose. This was the children's room where Ira and his wives had 11 living children when they came to Cove Fort, so it's pretty incredible how do you fit 11 children in here? Now granted, did some of them stay in the other rooms? Who knows, but I guess you could make it work. Like 3 kids in a bed, 3, one maybe slept there, maybe had another bed in here, but you can see like the toys, the little rocking chairs. And then last you had Adelaide's room, Adelaide Noble, so that was the other wife of Ira Hinkley. He said this dress here was a replica made based off of a picture of Adelaide. What's interesting, he also said these toothbrushes were made out of pig hair because that was like the thick hair that could make it able to brush your teeth. So this is just a little place off of I-15. Just make the little detour and then you can continue back on the main highway. But this, I think it was in 1988 or a little bit after that, the grandsons of the original Hinkley family repurchased this property and donated it to the church so that they could turn it back into an exhibit like it is today. And this little cabin here is the cabin of where the Hinkleys originally lived 200 miles away, and they had a little movie in there that would show us how it was, kind of like a little summary of the history of this. And last but not least, what I mentioned earlier about the rock that was used, that flat top mountain over there is actually a former volcano, and that's where a lot of the rocks came from to construct this fort. They also have a restroom facility here if you need to make a pit stop to use the restroom. He said people, especially when it's nicer weather, will often come here for a little break, and they have tables on the grounds where you can set up a little mini picnic before continuing on your adventure. So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you next time.